Good morning, everybody. What would you, I have a question for all of you. What would you consider the most terrible handicap? Kung papipiliin ka ng parusa, that's terrible. What would you choose? What would you rather be disabled about? Lame, deaf, mute, blind. What is the more terrible? What is the more terrible among them? What do you think? Polly, what is the more terrible among those handicaps? Ano yung hindi mo pipiliin? To be lame, to be deaf, to be mute, to be blind. But may mas grabe pa doon, to be fat. But never mind. What? Unmute yourself.
Blind, to be blind.
To be blind is the worst. Yes? The worst. What about Ami? Ami? Hi, Ami. What is the worst handicap na hindi mo pipiliin yun?
To be blind, Father.
To be blind. Oo. For many different reasons, this is something we would not like to have. But you know what? In the Gospels, the kind of handicap that is always narrated by the evangelists, all four evangelists, was always about blindness. It's always about blindness. Yun ang ini-emphasize. In fact, in the final journey of Jesus, when he started his final journey to Jerusalem, where he will suffer and die, ang unang is he cures a blind person. And just before entering Jerusalem, he cures another blind person. Yung journey niya ay pinapagitan sa dalawang curing of the blind. In the second one, the gospel that we read, the blind person has a name. His name is Bartimaeus. The evangelist would like to emphasize to us two things. Our disability, our number one disability as Christians, we are blind. We do not see. And the number two thing that is being emphasized by this curing of the blind is what it means to be a Christian, what it means to be a follower of Christ. In fact, this blind person is an example of a good disciple. Let me refresh your memory about the gospel. This blind person was reduced to begging. Wala naman siyang ibang kapinsanan, pero nobody hires a blind person. So he was reduced to begging. What does it mean to be reduced to begging? It means to live asking people for pity. Humihingi ng awa, nagmamakaawa. I wonder how many of you have ever experienced na you desperately need magmakaawa sa isang tao. I don't know. Some of us might even think, I would rather starve, I would rather suffer, then magpakababa ako at magmakaawa. Number one characteristic, number one requirement, number one sign of a disciple of Christ, nagmamakaawa siya. Nabubuhay siya relying on the mercy of God. Relying on the mercy of God. Number one for following Christ. Relying on His mercy. Then there was a crowd. They were shouting him down. Imagine, imbis na tutulungan itong blind person na to, they were shouting him down. They were telling him, tama na yan. Tumigil ka sa ginagawa mo. Tanggapin mo na lang ang sitwasyon mo. It can happen that members of our family can be putting down our dreams, our aspirations, our personal and spiritual desires. Sila pa ang unang magsa-shutdown ng ating mga pangarap. Pero anong ginawa nitong ano na to? Anong ginawa nitong blind man na to? He persisted. The number 2 qualification, the number 2 requirement, the number 2 characteristic of a disciple is to persevere. Is to persevere in doing good, is to persevere in spite of frustrations and disappointments, to persevere in pursuing virtue. Umaasa sa awa ng Diyos and persevering into that. Bakit? May mas importante ba tayong gagawin? Bakit? Bakit hindi tayo magper-persevere? Meron pa ba tayong ibang pupuntahan? Meron pa ba tayong ibang aasahan? Sabi ni St. Peter, where will we go, Lord? Nowhere to go. Only you have the words of everlasting life. Ikaw lang. Meron tayong Filipino saying, may awa ang Diyos. Matatapos din yan. May awa ang Diyos. One time I had to go to this person because he has diabetes and they had to cut his leg. At ang sabi niya sa akin, Father, may awa ang Diyos. Isang binti lang ang dapat tanggalin. May awa ang Diyos. Oh, wow. I asked him, ilang taon na po kayo? Ay, Father, sa awa ng Diyos, I'm 80 years old, going to 81. Sa awa ng Diyos, relying on the awa ng Diyos. Tinanong ko siya, nasa na yung asawa niyo? Where is your wife? Ay, Father, sa awa ng Diyos, kinuha na siya. Awa rin ng Diyos. Awa ng Diyos. We live, we move. St. Paul says, we live, we move, we breathe sa awa ng Diyos. As God would dispose. Hindi sa kagalingan natin. Nakakatawa yun. At isa pang nakakatawa dito, pag naririnig ko itong gospel na to, para akong natatawa. Kasi, itong blind na to, nagsisisigaw siya, asking for Jesus to remove his blindness, no? Obvious na blind siya. Okay, hindi siya makagalaw doon, may tungkod siya. And when he goes to Jesus, Jesus asks him, what can I do for you? Huh? Bulag nga ako, Jesus eh. Parang kakatawa naman si Jesus. Why does he ask? What can I do for you? How very respectful he is. He knows what we need. And many times we ask for many things that we really don't need. He knows what we need, but he asks, what do you like? Baka naman gusto niya pera. Baka naman gusto niya food. Baka naman gusto niya a hug. He asks, what do you want? And he answered so beautifully, Lord, that I may see. That in the darkness, I may see. That in my suffering, I may see. That in the sufferings of others, I may see you. Lord, that I may see you. What a beautiful prayer. Hindi yung remove this, take away this, huwag mangyari ito. That I may see you. In all of these, sa lahat ng mga pinagdadaanan ko, that I may see you. That is the prayer of the Christian. That I may see you in the suffering of others. That I may see you in my suffering. That I may see you in the ugliness that is around me. I may see you. To see God in everything. Makita kita sa lahat ng bagay. St. Ignatius, to see God In all things, hindi pinipili ko kung saan ang Diyos. I see Him in all things to pray that I will not be blind to that. In the holy and in what seemingly is unholy, in the good and also in the bad, I see Him. Makita ko siya. His hand, His presence, His providence, His love. You know, St. Ignatius said again, words that have become popular because of the musical Godspell. I'm sure you would remember. And in the musical Godspell, which is the life of Jesus, says there are three things I pray. To see thee more clearly, to love thee more dearly, to follow thee more nearly, day by day. The prayer of the Christian. And that is exactly what happened to Bartimaeus. Nung pinagaling siya ni Jesus, when he saw Jesus, he followed Jesus until the cross. Sumunod siya. Whereas all the disciples were run away, helter-skelter, and they hid. Si Bartimaeus stayed there until the foot of the cross. Because I have seen the Lord. I have seen the Lord. Let me end with a quotation from The Little Prince. What does it mean to see the Lord? What does it mean to want to see the Lord? How do we see the Lord? With our eyes? No. Bartimaeus asked for the right thing. Bartimaeus persisted in asking for the right thing. After which, what he received, he followed the Lord because he listened with his heart. We listen with our heart. We listen with our heart. The quotation from The Little Prince, the French author says these words as the last statement from The Little Prince. He says, I quote, "It is only when you see with your heart that you will see everything that is important and good in the world." Lord, that I may see you. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Let us pause a while and allow Jesus to talk to us. Sana we change our prayer rather than, Lord, tanggalin mo to. Lord, ayaw ko nito. Lord, ano ba to? Lord, pambihira ka. Let me just see you in the most difficult moments because He is there.